La Crosse Local is proud to be a sponsor of the La Crosse Winter Roots Festival, taking place Saturday, February 12th. We invite you to celebrate music, cuisine, artists, makers, brewers, and distillers in the new La Crosse Center Riverside Ballroom. Musical entertainment includes Dan Sobronic, Reed Grimm, Tug, The Remainders, Greg Hall and the Wrecking Ball, and the Trippin' Billies, the nation's most renowned Dave Matthews tribute band. La Crosse Winter Roots Festival is presented by the La Crosse Center, La Crosse Local, and with special thanks to The Remainders.
I'm going home. Hey, I'm going home.
Find out more information and how to get tickets at lacrosselocal.com. We had a great time getting to know Chris and Johnny from Storyhill. We talked about songwriting, recording, favorite festivals to play, early formations of the band, adapting to COVID, their holiday album, and more. You can find more conversations, food reviews, live music, and events on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is La Crosse Local.
Before I began to become the one I am, I would swim in sand for any trend. I was undulating between so many things, oscillating free fall.
Yeah, I'm John Hermanson, and I'm one half of Storyhill, and I was born in Bozeman, Montana, and met Chris in 7th grade, and then we became friends and started playing music in high school together. It's a brief bio of mine.
That works.
Yeah.
Mine would
Similar.
pretty much mirror that, yeah. Well, I'm Chris Cunningham, the other half of Storyhill. Born in Bozeman, yeah, pretty much grew up here, and I remember seeing Johnny in middle school, so 5th and 6th grade, but we didn't really connect as friends until world geography class, when we were paired off as we were the last two men standing that didn't choose partners for this project, and the teacher made us work on a project together, and that kind of started our working on projects together career.
So when did the music come into the mix with everything and you guys?
We'd always kind of been into music and stuff. For me, my sisters were a big influence, and my parents were always pushing me towards music and stuff. And then I think it was sophomore year of high school that I picked up a guitar at a garage sale, started kind of writing these kind of folk songs that I wasn't really listening to folk music, but I started writing folk music, and probably about the same time Chris did, or
You
I don't
mean
know.
that song about the girl from Minnesota that you met at camp?
Yeah. That we don't play anymore.
Sue?
Sue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how that goes now, but yeah, that would have been the first, and then Chris started playing piano along with me. Is kind of how I recall it. And then Chris got a 12-string guitar a year later or so, like junior year. Or something.
Yeah, you convinced me that guitars were cooler than piano and lighter weight than pianos to carry around.
Yeah.
We played a lot in high school for friends and churches, and started doing coffee house stuff back then.
Yeah, then we made
jamming in your parents' basement. Yeah.
Yep. And for graduation, our parents gave us money to put towards studio time, so we went to a local studio here and recorded our cassette tape back then.
Our fateful cassette.
Right.
We called it Chris and Johnny because we didn't know what else to call it.
Yeah. And we thought we were just basically making a record of all the songs that we had done, and then we were going to go our separate ways. And we made 100 copies of the cassette, and I played out a couple times at St. Olaf in Minnesota. sold out of the cassettes, and then convinced Chris that maybe he should come to St. Olaf as well, and that we might be able to start working on a career in music. 'Cause it seemed to be working. So,
I was in Spain after high school while he was in Minnesota, and Johnny had been playing that whole year solo, and people have been buying the cassette and wondering, well, who's the harmony? You know, what would that be like? So I got a letter in the mail from Johnny, you know, saying, hey, swing by Minnesota on your way back to Montana from Spain and check out this school. There's a lot of great people here. And we ended up playing, I don't know, once or twice during my visit. And then I grabbed an application, didn't think I would actually get accepted, but they had room. I don't know what to say. I guess my grades were good enough. But yeah, we spent 3 years at St. Olaf playing weekly at a pub in Northfield and making a record every year. And CD format came online back then, so we were making CDs and kind of developing towards, you know, the idea of going full time after we were done with school, which ended up happening. We got a booking agent and manager and all that. Bought the gear and the van and hit the road.
You know, I remember the cassette from, I think it was around 1996 when my brother was going to U of M. And it seemed to be like there was just a Chris and Johnny fan club there at the time. But I actually do remember the cassette.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah, and for a while we were printing both cassettes and CDs because, you know, it was still in that transition zone. We kept the name Chris and Johnny for the first 2 albums.
Why did that change?
Why did that change? Because we kind of grew uncomfortable with this sound of it. It sounded pretty folky and kind of Sonny and Cher, or, you know, sort of old school. Yeah. And we were just also, it was nice to think of, like, if you have a band name, then you don't feel like you're as personally identified as, I don't know.
Yeah, I think creatively we just wanted something to call it, you know, because we feel like when we make music together, there's like a third thing that comes out of it that's neither one of us, and neither one of us could have done it without the other one. So we kind of wanted to name that, and we threw all kinds of names around, and then Storyhill just stuck because it's where we're from, or sort of the Storyhills surround our town here in Montana, and the other part of that, I think, is the story word is a really, I mean, I think we sort of tell stories, you know, and like tell our own stories and tell other people's stories in song. And so it just seemed like a good name for us.
Yeah, a lot of good reasons for that name.
So kind of speaking of that kind of third part of Storyhill, what is your process for songwriting and recording? And has that changed over the past 20, 30 years? Is it fast and furious in some ways, or you work collaboratively, or is it individual and the person who wrote it kind of leads?
It's changed a bit. It's gotten much more collaborative and exploratory, abstract in a way. It did begin with, like, you know, Johnny'd write a song and Chris would add to it. Pretty cut and dry usually.
And I think it still kind of has that. That's kind of still the basic.
It starts that way.
One of us writes a song and brings it, and the other one writes their part to it. That's the easiest way to say it, but it doesn't tell the whole story, I guess.
Yeah, because what's been happening in the last, I don't know how many phases, but what's been happening is we'll begin with that and then start kind of pulling back objectively from the song and just like looking at it with less personal attachment, less ego, and just seeing what possibilities are for each song. And, yeah, which can lead to basically a Storyhill version of an original song. You know, it can go any different direction. So, yeah.
I mean, I think we're both just kind of driven by a lyrical, like it has to kind of resonate lyrically. Not always, you know, I mean, sometimes there's little songs that we just like because they sound good or feel good to play. Yeah, I think the lyrical stuff it's certainly the thing we struggle with the most by a long shot.
Did COVID have an effect on it? I mean, it sounds like you guys are pretty much in the same town now, right?
Well, just recently. Yeah.
Just recently?
Yeah. I moved back home in August of this year, so yeah, that's been great.
It's kind of like the start of a new. We have a whole like new trajectory that's possible now that we're able to meet up like every week.
Right, not just
Anytime.
on the road.
Yeah.
So we're able to do stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, but yeah, during COVID, you would have to travel out here. We did some online shows.
hmm we kind of made a go of it by just going online, like a lot of people did, and we did kind of what four? We
Yeah,
did four shows over the course of that
yeah, like
time.
we released our Christmas record last year online.
Right.
Bethlehem, it's called.
You walking in darkness, you living in the land of night. You have seen a light. You walking in darkness, you.
And that went really well. Then later in February, we did a celebration of our double album, our live album reunion. It was our 20-year anniversary of that. And we just played the whole, I think we played the tracks all in order, maybe.
Yeah, and that it was great because it feels like our fan base kind of like stepped up to kind of. I mean, I think they were also excited to see us play. I don't think they were just paying us money to because they felt bad for us or something. But it was a need that they had as well. It's just kind of cool that some of the songs just kind of speak to the time in a way that wasn't intended when we wrote it, but then it has resonance, and so I think people appreciated that. I think what we discovered was like there's sort of a new way of doing music, like playing an online show. There's downsides to it, obviously, but there's upsides too, because audience members, so they can just kind of be hanging out doing their thing, but it's also they get to see a live show.
Yeah, and we still feel as artists kind of connected to the listeners just because you can see people interacting a little bit, and we can kind of watch a little bit what people are saying in the comment section. And also we're just so used to performing together that we just once we start playing we just feel like we're on, and so we just kind of putting on that energy. And we just did one last week on Thursday from this very room. We have our expensive gear set up. We can give really good audio and a camera and all that, and it's going well. We announced it like the night before, and there was 100 people or something and that tuned in, and so we're like, well, maybe we should just think of doing this like on a weekly, like resident, what do you call them, artist in resident.
Yeah, so we're actually taking kind of like that whole COVID experience of doing live shows on the internet and translating it into, I mean, it sort of feels good to kind of keep doing that, even though we're going to be doing, we have a bunch of shows coming up in Minnesota and
Thankfully,
Wisconsin. Yeah, and that's great. Yeah, I mean, the internet will not take the place of live shows for sure, but there's a cool dimension to it. So yeah, we're doing this weekly Thursday night thing now, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Just talking to artists, there's some that have taken a lot from this experience in 18 months. I mean, just, reconnecting with your guys' music over the last couple weeks here, when I noticed that you guys were playing at the Pump House, something that people are busy with their lives in some sense. So, I used to listen to you guys about 20 years ago, and then revisiting it now and having that extra opportunity to check you guys out kind of keeps people updated from those fans that now have young children to busy lives. That they can actually just jump online and watch you guys play and chip in and donate and that sort of thing.
Can totally relate, and like I have a fairly young kid at home right now and in school and stuff, and just a busy life overall, running a business and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's great to be able to step away from that for an hour or two and hook up with Johnny and play a show online and also make plans for, a new record and new tours to support the record and, and get ready for our year-end shows here. So
kind of moving from, COVID, guys probably went for a pretty busy off and on couple decades of music. What are you excited for over the next year or two?
Oh, well, we have a lot of, we have an album's worth of new songs that we're really excited about. So there's a lot of like kind of fun musing going on. Like, who should we involve in this process besides, it might just be the two of us, or it might be us reaching out to a producer like Dan Wilson again. We've done fun work with other people before. We had a great turnout at our Storyhill Fest last summer. I think we just agreed this morning we're going to do it again.
You heard it first, right?
Next summer, yeah.
We have this Storyhill Fest that we do up in Brainerd area in Minnesota, and where we bring in all these artists that we're fans of. And the idea is like, if you're fans of our music, you're going to like the music that we like. And it's kind of worked out. So it's been kind of cool to share our favorite artists with our fans.
You guys will also be, hitting the stage here at the Pump House here in November. What should people expect from that show? Are you guys tapping into the favorites? Is it going to be holiday focused? What's happening?
Kind of all of the above, I think. If anybody, a lot of times people just be like, "Are you guys going to play such and such a song?" And we'll usually try to honor that if we can. Sometimes they're requesting songs that are really, really back catalog, like really hard to remember or something. But yeah, it'll be a mix of stuff. That's part of the joy of playing now, that we've been playing together for 32 years.
We have a lot to choose from.
Yeah, and all these different eras, and they just, yeah, it's really fun to kind of go through all the different eras, and then you see certain parts of the crowd light up, for different songs. And
I remember the Pump House. I mean, really well. Like we played there.
It's been one of
pretty
our favorite
regularly.
venues. Yeah,
and just lacrosse and hanging out downtown after the shows. Just it'll be fun. We'll probably bring a big basket of older fan favorites, and then toss in a bunch of our newer ones too, and perhaps a sprinkling of. So we call it our Christmas record, but it's really more than that. It's we did our own take on a lot of things, and then a lot of them are originals based on like Advent season scripture, and it's kind of its own. It's hard to even call it a Christmas record.
Yeah, there's a lot on there that, like 4 or 5 songs that aren't necessarily Christmassy, but that we felt like they fit. And I think they really fit the themes of the other stuff that are Christmassy on there.
Sort of subdued and reverent. It's like in a lot of ways, it might be nice, like the way Bruce Springsteen did his solo Ghost of Tom Joad shows. It was like a no applause thing, because he just wanted people to go through the experience of listening to each of the songs and kind of like living in the character that he was singing about,
and how the songs flowed from one to the other. And
that's kind of, I mean, we don't say please don't clap, but it's that
we haven't had to, because we've been on the internet. Yeah. but we have played it as if we didn't talk in between.
Right. We just get into its own space and kind of go through it.
And we're thinking about, so when it does become the holiday season, we're doing some shows that are just sort of centrally focused on that record. We'll still play some other tunes as well, but when we do it, I think we might do that in the live setting.
Right. It would, yeah.
Like for this, we're going to play the entire record now, and please don't.
Right. We'll politely set it up.
I think with just, and I've seen you guys play before, and what a great show it is, but I think you guys should be really strict about it, and be, for people who've never been there before, and just, they've only heard your music, and then they show up to the show, and then you guys are just really, really mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
how many times? Yeah. I want to clap.
Just boot some people. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Right.
So if people, want to follow along, stay up to date with you guys, maybe check out some of those older albums on cassette, where can people find out more?
I mean, I'd like to encourage people to tune into our upcoming weekly shows. So that'll be announced on our Facebook page.
Yeah, because it's a pretty laid back thing, and it's a lot of like last week we found ourselves just kind of like talking about a lot of stuff, and that's where we'll talk about like things that we're about to be doing, like shows we'll be playing and different things we'll be engaged in, probably from there. So that'll be kind of a weekly update or something, as well as a concert kind of experience. And then our website is storyhill.com. Storyhill Fest has a Facebook page.
Well, it has its own website too.
Mhm. And then all the streaming places you can hear our music.
Yeah, our Bandcamp page has every album
Mm-hmm.
for download and stream. So Bandcamp, Storyhill, and then our Patreon community. You asked earlier about COVID. That really was a lifeline for us, and a lot of fun to interact with this community of listeners and fans that joined in, and we did a lot of Zoom calls with them and posted sort of rare gems all the way back to high school kind of recordings. It's pretty loaded, our Patreon page.
And then all those posts are still there, and then people that sign up to become patrons will get free admission to the online concerts that we're doing. So that's kind of a cool benefit.
Lacrosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you'd like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at Lacrosse Local. Find out more about us at lacrosselocal.com, and you can subscribe to the Lacrosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We appreciate it.